The Orlando Magic are officially winners of the NBA lottery, getting the #1 overall pick. And while I think the Kings jumped the highest, they went from 7, 8 up to #4. The Magic have the pick of the litter. Who are they going to take with this #1 overall pick? I said this in a couple videos now, but it feels like a lot of the NBA scouts had Chet Holmgren as the #1 overall pick coming into the season, and then he didn't perform that well at the beginning. He kind of turned it on a little bit in the second half, but at the end of the day, Jabari Smith is one of the guys who actually stood out, separated himself as an offensive dominant possibility masterpiece, while he's also a year younger than Chet and Jaden Ivey. And I don't know what you want to call it, confirmation bias, whatever one of those fucking psychology terms is that says, oh, well, we thought this at the beginning of the season, so this is probably what's right. But Chet Holmgren is kind of a top-ish tier prospect, B+, like everybody else is in this draft class. So the fact that a lot of NBA scouts who love to pat themselves on the back have Chet Holmgren as #1 doesn't impress me, because at the end of the day, he's a big 7-foot kid who's at shooting, doesn't really get his own shot, and is good at defense. I guess a lot of his skills isn't going to translate to the next level, so I don't see why he would be going #1 when you have a Jabari Smith bucket-getting Kevin Durant-like machine here and available. So we're going to go with the Orlando Magic taking Jabari, just because it does make sense. They do have Jonathan Isaac, maybe, who knows, another 6'11 defensive stalwart. They have Franz Wagner, who does a lot of what Chet does, provide you effort plays on defense and offense, get baskets by making cuts, hitting open threes, facilitating a little bit, and he's a good defender as well. And just adding Chet Holmgren to the lineup is going to be, more defense? Unless your idea for the Orlando Magic is to limit every team scoring to like 10 points a game with what would it be? Markelle Fultz at the point guard, Jalen Suggs at the shooting guard, Franz Wagner at the small forward, Jonathan Isaac at the power forward, and Chet Holmgren at the center. Yeah, you're going to limit teams to, I guess, 10% field goal percentage shooting, but you're not going to have any offense of your own. And I just think if you get somebody who can get you a bucket, Jabari Smith is going to put this team in the right direction instead of getting more defense. So Jabari is going to go #1 overall. And this is finally where the draft starts to normalize. Now, I have Jaden Ivey as the second-rated prospect in this draft, but it just does not make sense for a team that already has Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, for a team that already has Josh Giddey, for a team that already has Trey Mann coming off the bench. Chet Holmgren slides in perfectly. The Thunder have been hungry for a real center ever since they drafted Isaiah Roby to be a power forward, and Jeremiah Robinson Earl and rock the small ball 5 lineup. Chet Holmgren's going to fit in perfectly here. #3 overall to the Rockets, same issue. I would take Jaden Ivey here, but they have Kevin Porter Jr. They have Jalen Green. It just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to go with another guard when there's a similar caliber player in Paolo Banchero just sitting here. Now, I know his upside isn't freakish like Jabari or Chet Holmgren, but Paolo was a very dominant player in college, led the Duke team to a deep playoff run. Now, the Duke team was stupidly stacked. They had like 5 NBA caliber players on that team, so who knows how good they're really going to be. But I like Paolo Banchero going ahead of Jaden Ivey here, which means Jaden falls to #4 with the Sacramento Kings, and what a steal this is going to be for them. Ever since they traded away Buddy Hield and Tyrese Halliburton for Domantas Sabonis, it looks like the Kings are ready to win now, which means a first-round playoff exit at best. But hey, it's been 16 years. Can you make the fucking playoffs? Now, realistically, they should go a wing player here. Keegan Murray, Shadon Sharp is 6'6", but I think you go best player available. Now, this is the Kings, and they're probably going to do something stupid, like take Jalen Duren here. But if I was the Kings pick, and this is what the mock draft is what would I would do as the team's GM? I would take the best player available still in this tier, and I would take Jaden Ivey. I think Shadon Sharp is just a tick below because we have zero experience of seeing what he's going to be like at the next level, let alone the next level. Sure, he's a dominant high school player. What does that mean to me? Nothing. So I'm taking Jaden Ivey with the #4 overall pick and moving on to the next tier with the Detroit Pistons, and I think Shadon Sharp fits in here perfectly. He's going to be the off guard to Cade Cunningham's on guard. He's going to take over. Killian Hayes can move to the backup role. He's, whatever at this point. People refuse to call him a bust. I'm going to do it for you. Jeremy Grant, we don't know what his future is, and Shadon Sharp is going to be the bona fide backcourt of the future with the Pistons. And I think losing the lottery, this is still a good consolation prize for the Pistons. You're taking the #1 overall pick in next year's draft, and you're getting him this year. Stupid young, great shot maker, going to pair up alongside with Cade Cunningham. The Pacers didn't get the luck that I was hoping for that they would have in the lottery, and it's really just a question of what need do you think they have. I think center you're set. Miles Turner, I know he always gets hurt, but Isaiah Jackson was a very formidable rookie this season. Point guard, you're set. Ricky Rubio is going to be a free agent, but you have Tyrese Halliburton, you have Malcolm Brogdon, basically the same player. Small forward is questionable. Is TJ Warren even playing basketball anymore? So this is probably a spot where a Keegan Murray or an AJ Griffin will go. I don't know if you're going to want a shot maker like Johnny Davis when you still have Buddy Hield on the roster. Maybe a Benedict Mathurin. And I wouldn't be surprised since they did take a 4-year guy, or I guess 6-year guy, and Chris Duarte last year, if they go after Ochai Agbaji, who really set himself apart. The only problem is he's like 23 years old. But I think Keegan Murray goes here. I'm not a huge Keegan Murray fan, but I think the fit is too good. They need a power forward after they trade away Domantas Sabonis. They need some size and big wing help. Who knows what TJ Warren's going to be, and I think Keegan slides right in. Going to the Trailblazers, also didn't get very lucky in this year's draft. They tanked for the entire season, and they have a lot of needs on this team. Of course, at the small shooting, creating guard, they're set. Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons are going to be there for the future. They even have Eric Bledsoe. Josh Hart is a fine, undersized wing player. Yusuf Nurkic is a good enough center. Do they have a backup? Not really, but I don't think you're in the mood for drafting a backup with the 7th overall pick. So they're also in need of a forward, and I think either Benedict Mathurin or AJ Griffin goes here. I know a lot of people like AJ Griffin because he shot lights out. I like Benedict Mathurin as a prospect better because he was the leader of the Arizona team. Arizona didn't go as deep as you'd like. Maybe if they went all the way, Benedict Mathurin showed that he was a baller, and I don't know, they set themselves apart. Benedict would be a top 5 prospect, but he didn't make as deep of a playoff push. He did hit that, I think, a game winner or clutch shot, and I just think Benedict Mathurin is a better overall player than AJ Griffin. Maybe the shooting splits aren't as good, but that's not what you're looking for with the number 7 overall pick, especially because the team is rebuilding. With the Pelicans, you're at an abundance of wealth here. Now, you do need a point guard. CJ McCollum is a shooting guard, but there's no good point guards in this draft. And Dyson Daniels, I'm sorry, you're just not a point guard. You're a combo guard like James Harden, who was asked to play the point guard for the G League Ignite because they didn't have any true point guards on the roster. So what do you go with this pick? Because you have basically everything set on the roster besides point guard. Center, you're fine. Jonas Valanciunas, Willie Hernangomez, and Jackson Hayes, all capable centers. Power forward, you're fine. Zion Williamson, if he's playing, who knows? Herb Jones, Larry Nance Jr. Small forward, Brandon Ingram, Najee Marshall. I mean, maybe you want some depth at the forward position. Shooting guard, point guard, CJ McCollum, Jose Alvarado, and Devontae Graham. So really you need somebody who can bring the ball up the court, shoot the ball, and facilitate. Unfortunately, there's no facilitator, so who do we go next? Guys who can shoot, and that looks like AJ Griffin, and that looks like Johnny Davis to me. I wouldn't take Johnny Davis. I really liked his game in the regular season. In the March Madness playoffs, he was really bad. But AJ Griffin, just as a 3-point shot maker, I think goes well with what the Pelicans are trying to do out there. You don't need any more ball handling unless there's a true point guard. Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum can handle the ball plenty for you. Going on to the Spurs, another team that came up just a little bit short in this lottery. And they're also okay. They need a big wing player for sure, and maybe a center, but Jakob Poeltl is the perfect league average center. Zach Collins, he plays the center position. And then I guess power forward you'd call their biggest need, because Keldon Johnson is a power forward naturally, but he's 6'5". Devin Vassell, 3-and-D guy. Josh Richardson, 3-and-D. So anybody on the wing is going to help this team out. I think Johnny Davis would be nice, give them a little bit scoring. I'm wary of taking a guard for the Spurs because I don't want to take too many minutes away from Joshua Primo. Ousmane Dieng might be a little bit early, but he's a very intriguing prospect, 6'10", good defense. Ochai Agbaji is the ultimate win-now player. I just don't think the Spurs are in win-now mode right at this point. They need somebody who's going to be a little creative. I don't want to reach too hard, but I think we're going to go with Ousmane Dieng for this number 9 overall pick. I was playing with the idea of reaching hard and getting Nikola Jovic to fill in that big wing role and do a lot for them. I just don't know if they're going to reach that far. I know the Spurs are no strangers to reaching. They went like 20 or 30 picks ahead to get their guy in Joshua Primo, who was unimpressive last season. But I think Ousmane Dieng fits onto this team. Number 10 overall. What do you do with the Wizards? Hypothetically, they have a good roster. Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis is a lethal duo. And then they have good role players around them. Ish Smith is my favorite backup point guard ever. Then you have Diha, Corey Kispert, Isaiah Todd can get you 3. Don't forget about Kyle Kuzma, who's a bucket. And their center position is really solid. And Daniel Gafford and Thomas Bryant. I think there's another center that I'm forgetting. Completely forgot to mention Rui Hachimura. Hypothetically, the team has a lot of good players. I think you need to go upside. Now, what do you do when you need a point guard and there isn't one available? Do you reach and take a Ty Washington? Kentucky guards really have shown that they can be awesome, but at the same time, he's an undersized shooting guard, realistically, barely 6'4". Do you want to go with Dyson Daniels at this point and say, you know what, you're not a natural point guard, but let's see if we can grow and mold you? Do you let Denny Avdija rock the ball handling duties for this team? Do you kind of run a ball handling by committee, Bradley Beal, Denny Avdia, and Ty Washington. I've been consistently mocking Ty Washington to the Wizards. I just feel like it fits well enough. Ty is the best guard in this class, and even if he doesn't become a true facilitator, he's another guy who can get you a bucket and is going to play hard. And so far, we've seen great guards come out of Kentucky. Why not take another one? So that's just going to be my pick. I know it's probably unpopular, but Ty just makes too much sense, and I know he's getting a lot of shit because of his horrible stint in the one game they played in Kentucky for the March Madness. With the number 11 overall pick, the New York Knicks need a point guard. Are they going to take one? Probably not. They ran Alec Burks at point guard for the majority of the season, and good freaking lord. Another team, who knows what they're going to be doing this offseason. Julius Randle is in every single trade rumor ever. Evan Fournier is getting paid way too much to suck. Derrick Rose is always hurt. It is what it is. RJ Barrett is the linchpin of this team. If he turns into a superstar, they're set. Otherwise, they're still in rebuild mode. And then the rest of the team, they have too many wing players and not enough point guards. Emmanuel Quickley is an undersized shooting guard. Quentin Grimes gave him good minutes, but he's a 3-and-D guy. Mitchell Robinson's up for a contract. Who knows what he is? What do you do with this pick? Now, there's a few ways you could go. You could let Mitchell Robinson walk and take a Jalen Duren. Say this is going to be our center of the future. I'm not a huge fan of that, taken with the number 11 overall pick. I'd like to get a little more talent at this position. You could go another guy who gets a bucket in Johnny Davis, but it just feels too similar to what Alec Burks does for the team. I might take a Dyson Daniels here and just throw a dart. Say, can you be our point guard, please? Otherwise, you're going to reach for a guy like Kennedy Chandler, who just, I think he's too short to play in the NBA, but he's a very good point guard. His shooting isn't great either. And if you really want a point guard, go trade, I don't know, 2 seconds to Atlanta and see if you can steal Sharif Cooper, if that's really what you want to do. I don't think going another wing player is smart here. You know, you have Obi Toppin already, Baron Hunt, legend. You don't need shooting guards. You know, let's take Dyson Daniels for the Knicks. It's not going to be a great pick for them. Maybe it pans out well, but who knows? As for the Oklahoma City Thunder, they already have Chet Holmgren. Why not double up and take Jalen Duren, who falls here at 12? You don't need a lot of shot creators. There isn't a lot of big forwards that are going to be monsters here unless you want to reach a bit for a Nikola Jovic or a Patrick Baldwin Jr. I think why not? Get 2 centers. They've been missing size forever in Oklahoma City Thunder. And if you throw the dart twice, maybe you'll hit once on one of these centers. Probably Chet, but Jalen Duren is a very formidable prospect in his own right. With the number 13 pick, the Charlotte Hornets are kind of in a weird spot. All they need is center. All they need is Mark Williams. So I would say take him now and decide what you're going to do with the next pick. Probably get a backup wing player to fill in Gordon Hayward's minutes when he gets hurt again. The Cavaliers held their pick, number 14. Not great, not terrible. They traded away basically next year's pick for Karis LeVert. What do they need? I guess size, I guess versatility, a little bit of a big wing player who can play defense, who can shoot the ball, because Isaac Okoro, for all of his greatness and effort and defense, cannot shoot. And I think a good spot for Ochai Agbaji, if you realistically think about it. Do they need another shot creator? I feel like you got that in Karis LeVert. Colin Sexton should be coming back, or they're going to sign and trade him for somebody better. And then they have the centers and big wing players already in Lauri Markkanen, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Kevin Love. Who knows what they're going to do with that position? I think Ochai Agbaji fits really well to this team. They're already starting to make moves to win now when they traded away their first round pick for Karis LeVert. They're a good team who's only going to continue to get better. I think Ochai Agbaji is a great player. His only red flag is that he's a bit old at 22, 23. With the number 15 pick, you have an abundance of talent on this team. LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, James Bouknight is finally going to get a chance now that fucking James Borrego has finally been fired. Jesus Christ. Cody Martin played well. Kelly Oubre. Gordon Hayward's always hurt, so he doesn't count. So I think you need a little bit more scoring on this team. Terry Rozier is a go-get-you-a-bucket guy. LaMelo Ball is a go-get-you-a-facilitation guy. And then they have their center with Mark Williams. I think you go wing player here. I'd take Johnny Davis. He's probably the best player available, one of the best shot creators in this class, and you figure out what you're going to do with him and James Bouknight as your backcourt. Play Miles Bridges at the 4. Figure out if you want to keep Terry Rozier for the long term. He's a very good player, don't get me wrong, but 6'1" is going to get you hurt when you're playing the shooting guard or small forward position. Moving on outside of the lottery to the Atlanta Hawks, and another team that doesn't really need anything, does need a backup point guard. Maybe you go Kennedy Chandler. I feel like they should believe in Sharif Cooper a little bit more. DeLon Wright gave him a really good minute, so I'm not going to go backup point guard. I think they need some bucket getting. Maybe a Jaden Hardy would be a nice spot here, kind of replace what Lou Will brought. The team is in a weird spot where they're good enough to make the playoffs, and they're not good enough to get to the next level. They need another superstar, and you're not really going to find one at pick number 16. I don't know. You don't really need another high flyer if you want to go Jeremy Sochan. Tari Eason is a very capable, B across the board kind of player. Not really impressive in anything single thing. I'm gonna go Jaden Hardy to fill in the shoes that Lou Will has left. I don't know if he's retired yet. I know Jaden Hardy has fallen quite a bit throughout the season, but he's still a decent shot getter. He's still, Buddy Hield. That was my comparison for him. Rockets with the 17th pick, and now they're starting to look at another big wing player, probably Tari Eason or Jeremy Sochan at this point. Would be very smart. Marjan Beauchamp, I'd actually really like for the team, a good effort guy. Might even be a little PJ Tuckerish, and he can shoot the three, unlike most of the other players. Nikola Jovic, another great spot for him to go. I think I'm going to go Patrick Baldwin Jr. here. Now, he played on Milwaukee, which is why his draft stock fell. He wanted to play with his dad as the head coach, and Milwaukee is probably the worst team in college basketball. Patrick Baldwin is a lot similar to Keegan Murray. Didn't have the same level of impressiveness of a college season, but the same skill set, big wing, get you shots, and I think he should go a little earlier than pick 30. With the 18th pick, the Bulls need, I'm not really sure. I guess they could use some wing depth. They need somebody who can score, somebody who's going to be actually good for them instead of, Tyler Cook, Derrick Jones Jr. Maybe a Nikola Jovic, another great spot for him to go. I'm going to go with Nikola Jovic. I'm a little higher on him than I am with some of the other guys like Tari Eason. And once you get to this point in the draft class is deep, but it's really deep with kind of C- players. So anyone from 14 to I'll say about 40 is in the same tier of, there could be okay bench role players. There's going to be a lot of dart throws. The first round mock drafts are going to be wild compared to what actually happens. Number 19 overall with the Minnesota Timberwolves. They could use a true point guard. This would be a nice spot for Kennedy Chandler to go, give him good backup point guard minutes. Could use some 3-and-D shooting, but there's not a lot of that. Maybe Atari Eason goes here, but did he even shoot that well in college? He shot like 36%. He's not even an impressive 3-point shooter. I don't know why. I think Marjan Beauchamp or Kennedy Chandler is the move here. Either get your backup point guard, although you already have that in Patrick Beverley and D'Angelo Russell, or get just more wing help whenever the big guys go out. Anthony Edwards needs a rest and Malik Beasley isn't hitting his three. Just get a little bit better. Marjan Beauchamp, great effort, great glue guy, and great 3-and-D shooter. With the 20th pick, the San Antonio Spurs have their second of 3 picks coming in this first round from Toronto. What do they want to do with pick 20? We picked Ousmane Dieng. They don't really need a backup point guard. They're set with Trey Jones, Dejounte Murray. They don't really need a backup center. Jacques Landale was actually pretty good for them, and so was Zach Collins as Jakob Poeltl's backup. I think he just continued to go wing help. I think he go best player available. And at this point, I'm thinking either Malachi Branham or Blake Wesley. Who do you like more? I think I liked Blake Wesley more. I keep referencing the game where Kentucky was ranked number 1 overall, and Blake Wesley led a no-name Notre Dame squad to beat them. Versus Malachi Branham was okay, but he was playing alongside another number 1 first round prospect in EJ Liddell, and he was really like the second, third, fourth option on that team. Blake Wesley was a legit number 1 for Notre Dame. We're going to go with him. Number 21 overall to the Nuggets, and Nikola Jokic could use whatever help is available to him. At this point, they have JaMychal Green and Jeff Green and Aaron Gordon. What is Michael Porter Jr. going to offer you? What is Will Barton going to offer you? They really need more scoring, I guess. So I'm torn at this pick with a wing player between Malachi Branham and Trevor Keels, and Malachi shot 41% from the 3. It looks like Trevor Keels was 31%. Not great. So we're going to go with Malachi Branham for them. Good, nice, high upside player, has a decent shot, good athlete. He just needs time to develop. And next up is the Grizzlies, another team with everything. Now, if they let Tyus Jones walk, then they should pick up Kennedy Chandler immediately, be their backup, undersized point guard replacement. Who knows what Tyus Jones is going to get? Otherwise, I don't know what you do with your abundance of talent. You know what? I like that idea. Let's give them Kennedy Chandler to be their backup point guard. Who knows what they're going to do with Tyus Jones? Number 23 to the Brooklyn Nets, a team that just needs 3-and-D. Tari Eason would be a smart move at this point. EJ Liddell, kind of not really what I'm looking for on this team. He's an undersized mauler. Think what of a lower tier Julius Randle would be. They need guys who play 3-and-D. This team is in win now mode. Obviously, they don't need another center. So, let's go Christian Braun at this point out of Kansas. I know he's routinely getting mocked to the Golden State Warriors, but it feels like the Warriors and the Nets are in the same mindset of we need to win now. With the number 24 pick, What should the Bucks take? You could hypothetically go center and call Bobby Portis a wing player as well. I just don't think that's the move to make. I've actually mocked them EJ Liddell a lot. Just another guy who brings toughness to the team. A little shot creation guy who can get his own bucket. I like that idea. I also like getting another wing player for defensive purposes, but I think they have too many at this point. Grayson Allen, Pat Connaughton, Wes Matthews, Jordan Nwora even showed some flashes in the preseason, not so much in the actual season. Let's do Tari Eason, just a guy who can do a little bit of everything for the team. Number 25 overall to the Spurs, and who knows what they're going to pick at this spot. When you have 3 first-round picks, you just go, God, I don't know, let's take the best player available. Now, clearly, they're prioritizing young players with high upside. I think either Kendall Brown or Jeremy Sochan would be a bright spot here. See if they can fix their shot. I really don't know why Jeremy Sochan is going ahead of Kendall Brown when Kendall Brown was almost a top 10 prospect early in the draft. So I'm going to take Kendall Brown just because he's a freaky athlete and hopefully he can get some kind of shot. As for the Mavericks, who have made it to the Western Conference Finals, if not more at the time of this recording, what do they need? Not a lot. They could use a legit center. So maybe a rim running monster. And I'm thinking Christian Koloko or Musa Diabate are my top centers. I'm not huge on Walker Kessler. I just don't love his actual rim running ability. I think Christian Koloko, though, would be a great pickup for them. A nice athletic guy who can rim protect, who can run, catch the alley-oops, what the fuck. They don't need more 3D help. At this point, they have enough. I know you can always use more 3D players, but if Tim Hardaway Jr. ever comes back, Reggie Bullock's give him good minutes, Maxi Kleber, Dorian Finney-Smith, Davi Bertans, Josh Green. I think at this point, you go for a backup center because Dwight Powell sometimes just isn't good enough on the defensive end. So I take Christian Koloko, my highest rated center after Mark Williams and Jalen Duren. I think you live with that pick. Number 27 to the Heat, another team that needs a little bit of everything and doesn't really need anything. Go best player available, and I think EJ Liddell would be a nice pickup here. Just more toughness to the team. PJ Tucker's getting up there in age. Who knows how much longer he's going to last. And EJ Liddell could slide right in, be that undersized bully that they need. Number 28 to the Golden State Warriors, and God, what do they need? They have everything. They have so much of everything. Who should they hit on down the road? Maybe they go Max Christie here. Same thing as Moses Moody, just more 3 and D. Maybe they go JD Davidson, take their backup point guard of the future. Do they want to go Walker Kessler, get their backup center? Kevon Looney's great, and then after that, they just play small ball 5, and who knows what James Wiseman is going to do. It's just another team that has a little bit of everything, and they don't really need anything. So I'm going to give them Max Christie, 3 and D, fit the Moses Moody mold. Maybe they get rid of Damian Lee for once in their fucking lives and figure out what to do with the rest. With the number 29 pick, the Memphis Grizzlies have too much of everything, and Jeremy Sochan would be a great high upside, high risk dart throw here that they could just say, you know what, he's got freaky athletics. Maybe he'll turn himself into something. And with the 30th pick, who knows what to do at this point? Who knows what the board is going to break down like? But if I'm the Oklahoma City Thunder, I don't know. Take Bryce McGowan, see if you can develop him into a 3 and D player. So this is the new mock draft right after the NBA lottery with the Orlando Magic picking number 1, Oklahoma City Thunder 2, the Houston Rockets fall to 3, and the Kings jump up to 4. Let me know what your thoughts are, what you agree with, what you disagree with, and I'll catch you in the next one.